Welcome to the Sensible Center podcast, where two middle-aged guys drunkenly talk politics and political reform. Grab an adult beverage and enjoy the show. Further information can be found at sensiblecenterpack.com. You can reach us at sensiblecenterpack@gmail.com or follow us on X at USASCPack. Hey, Bob. Happy Halloween.
6 days, Kevin. 6
Is
days
it 6?
until the
I
election.
thought it was 4.
Well, a little bit of today.
Friday,
Thursday?
Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's 5, I guess, if you take
5.
Thursday out of the equation.
5 days.
5 days. How are you going to celebrate? Or how are you going to celebrate come Tuesday?
I will be in Barcelona. So I'll have some paella. So I'm leaving the country. Hopefully all the fires will be put out and the stores will be reopened by the time I get back. And if you guys could settle on who won by then, that would be good. So I'll give you a couple weeks and figure it all out. And then I only have a one-way ticket at this point, so I've kind of left it open-ended.
I'm excited, man. I cannot wait to vote, first of all, to go vote. And secondly, to sit and watch election results all night.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be up, what is that, 7 or 8 hours ahead over there? So
Yeah, it's about right.
It'll be early morning, I think, on Wednesday. I'll start watching, I guess, whatever I can find on Wednesday morning. I don't even know what we have going on Wednesday. I think I got a tour going, so.
Time changes probably between now and then, or that's going to be coming up pretty soon here, I would think, too.
Yeah, I think it's this weekend we fall back.
It seems about right.
Sure. Pretty sure it's on Saturday. So that's our public service announcement. Move your clocks back on Saturday evening. So this is our, I guess, our pre-election special podcast, huh?
It is.
It is. So what do we want to cover tonight?
Well, let's start with Biden's garbage comments. Did you hear this?
I did. And Deb's like, he didn't actually say that. I'm like, yeah, he did.
He said that. It's exactly what he said. He said,
but I like what Trump said.
The only garbage I see are Trump supporters.
That's what he said. Is that the direct quote?
It's pretty close.
So it's hard to walk that back when he kind of doesn't qualify it in the moment, right?
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Either.
Although I like what Trump said. Trump said he forgave him because obviously he doesn't know what he said. Which is kind of funny.
And he went out and he painted a garbage truck with the Trump campaign sign on there.
Yep, I saw him in his rally in Green Bay, and he came out with his garbage man uniform on.
Yeah. The guy's a marketing genius, man.
He doesn't miss a beat, I tell you.
He does not.
I don't want him anywhere near the White House, but he does not miss a beat.
He just he knows how to work the media. He knows how to work a crowd. Yeah. It's quite amazing. But
let's go back. So Trump had his rally on Saturday, right? His Madison Square Garden rally.
Yeah,
reminiscent of the America First rallies back in the 30s, I think, that they held in the Garden. And Kill Tony was on, and he mentioned Puerto Rico being, an island.
Floating island of garbage, yeah.
He's a comedian. Clearly the media took it out of proportion, I would say. I didn't watch too much of the other speakers at the rally.
I didn't watch any of it,
to
be honest with you. I saw that clip of the comedian.
Yep.
And, just because it was all over the media. Generally, as much as I love politics, I don't watch much campaign rallies, and not on TV. They're all just kind of repeating the same thing anyway, and then it gets repeated out in talking points, and anything that's any bit controversial is just going to be repeated ad nauseum through the media channels. So
they just pick it up, but you wanted to talk about like the Dems sort of doing this over.
They seem to have history
10 or 20 years.
Yeah, so if we go back, obviously the most recent example would be Hillary and her deplorables comment.
Yep, another stupid comment.
Is credited with really igniting Trump's campaign
Yep.
and his chances the last time when he won, and whether or not, with this election, I do think a lot's baked in. I don't know if the garbage comments are going to necessarily swing any votes at this point. I think it's kind of been baked in for a while,
Mm-hmm.
probably since the assassination attempt, but definitely as Kamala's campaign has weakened quite a bit, I think anything that was left over is kind of going one side or the other. But in addition to those deplorable comments, obviously Kamala has repeatedly called Trump a fascist. Barack Obama called working men or the working class bitter
Well,
while
he
he was
said
campaigning.
they were huddled with their guns.
Yep.
I forgot what the exact language was, but yes, he did. He did say that too.
They seem to resort to name calling.
Oh, you're
Um,
saying the Democrats are the number one name.
I, I really think that, well, they obviously don't hold a monopoly.
Well, clearly not, because the guy on the other side is a number one in name calling. But he never. I'll give you this, except for saying that they're elites and woke and whatnot, and you could take that as an insult or not. Um, although I've heard not.
He'll go after
I've heard
candidates more so
libtards.
than
I've heard
voters.
libtards a lot
From Trump?
from. I don't think he's actually ever said that. He's smart enough not to go after directly after the bases. Although yeah, he does hint at it, but never directly to have a quote. So yes, I'll grant you that. But other than that, the name calling would be just as much, or if not more, on the other side. But I'll say it's not good to go after the American people in that way, and it's a stupid move by the Democrats. I think they get like baited into it, and then they can't help themselves. Um, and it sort of indicates to me how some of them think about the other side. And I don't think necessarily that amount of not I don't want to say hatred, but
What happened to Joy, though?
disgust and confusion happens on the other side. I don't think. I think on the conservative side, I think they'd be more open to having a conversation with someone on the liberal side, and I think liberals are generally less open-minded about because they just can't believe what they're seeing from the other side. Um, yes, they've lost the
But
joy,
yeah,
which I
there's
think is again I think is a stupid move. She should have stayed with that. I also said she shouldn't be doing that many interviews because there was no upside, and that worked again. I think worked against her in taking out the momentum. She should have just went high level joy. We're turning the page on all this stuff because I think a lot of people are just tired of it, one way
I
or
think it's
another.
going to get worse
But
until something breaks.
yeah, but I think the American people are a bit tired of it all. Um, of all the
Well,
rancor and the
I
back and forth.
completely agree. I think American people are absolutely tired of it all, but I don't. I think the media and the
Yeah, I
pushers
mean,
in the lobby class and the strategist class are going to continue to kind of push the envelope.
well, hopefully the American people, one way or another, after this election, will step back from it. But like you said, good luck with that, right?
Good luck. Yeah, it's pretty easy to gaslight people nowadays.
So the Biden comments could have been a. We're still waiting for the October, or now it's going to be November surprise. You brought up that it looks like Iran's going to retaliate, which I don't think anyone was expecting a major retaliation. But if they're firing missiles from Iraq,
Yeah.
that means less warning time, I would think, and could be something major that happens over the next several days, right?
Yeah, I wonder how long until how much of that Israel's going to take before they just say we're going to end it.
Well, that's what I thought they were going to do last time. So if, on the last podcast, I said I thought they were planning a more major attack than they actually did. I mean, they they restrained themselves. I don't know if it was because we told them to, but I think my thought was if they went that limited, that would sort of be the end of it. But
Yep.
unless Iran's just saber rattling, um, that would be unfortunate if then they re-escalate, because then I would think all bets are off on what Israel does, especially if there's damage or casualties in Israel, which they've managed to avoid in the last two attacks. But um, we'll see. Not good. Um, then the other thing that came up was this last week was this General Kelly letter that was augmented by several other Trump administration officials. Totally unprecedented sort of um people who he hired uh, going after him and saying he's sort of a menace to the country. Um, it's amazing that this is out there and it won't move the needle. Um, do you think it'll
It's all
move the
baked
needle at all?
in. Not at all.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. I don't. No.
I
Oh,
like JD. JD was the one who kind of came to the defense saying, "Oh, they're just disgruntled employees." Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to say anything else, but
well, here's the
I,
thing. Trump said it in the Rogan interview that he's had people come to him after leaving his administration or working for him and saying, "Look, CBS, ABC, NBC, these media companies, and I assume publishers and others are part of it. They want me to go negative. They want to hire me. They're offering me a lot of money, but I have to go negative." And Trump's telling them, "Go negative. Make your money. You understand? Do it. I encourage you. Go negative. Go ahead. Do what you got to do." I do think a lot of it's media driven, media narrative. People who are no longer in the spotlight or in these positions of power within our government still need to make money, or if they don't need to, they still want to make money, and it's an opportunity to make money by going negative. They're selling a story.
that's a very cynical way to look at it, Bob. Or you could say they really have a concern that these people who have served their country their whole life actually have a concern about putting this guy back in office. Or you could look at it that way.
I I think it's been this way for. There's so much money in politics, Kevin. There's so much money in media.
I mean,
How
there's
many
no evidence that
billions
he's
of
making
dollars are
money off of
spent
it.
every year in campaign ads?
I would say he can. I'm talking specifically about these officials that have signed up. I would think if they're Republicans, just like Liz Cheney and anyone else who's spoken up, it will destroy their career. He's retired, Milley's retired, but several of them, many of them who signed that letter, still are in the public sphere. Yes, some of them have
Liz
appeared
and
on
Dick Cheney are both
some of them have
warmongers.
appeared on MSNBC. Yes, absolutely.
They like
Uh,
war. They vote for war.
yeah, I don't like. We've talked about this.
They've
I'm no fan of
most
the
likely
Cheneys.
taken significant money from defense contractors.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. So Trump's going to cut off the defense budget. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not exactly saying that. I am
Okay.
saying Trump's he's got a record of not getting us into war and doing everything he can to stay away from it and keep us out, including reaching out and talking to people that are leading other countries,
Yeah,
including threatening countries that if they don't put their fair share into NATO or other organizations, that the United States isn't going to either, right? I mean,
I would suggest he had less to do with keeping out of war than you think, if you've actually read about what happened in his administration. But
when is the
again, it's
last?
all sour grapes.
When's the last administration that did that? When's the last administration that didn't get us into anything new? We've got troops. As Kamala said, we don't have troops right now in any other countries. She should have been fact-checked on that because it was the same debate that they were fact-checking Trump. We very obviously got troops overseas deployed and not
Yeah.
just sitting there in a base.
Well, we have
So
less people in combat than when we did it under Trump, I believe, because he still had people in Afghanistan
he did still have people in
and
Afghanistan.
fighting
But
ISIS.
so we had new wars
So
under
I don't.
Obama. We had new battles and wars under Bush, right? Prior to him, that would have been Clinton, same. Bush Sr., same. Reagan, Was he before Bush Senior? I guess he would have been.
So
He got
tell
us
me
some
this,
issues.
Bob. How are you an isolate? How is he an isolationist but yet still a tough guy? A those I can't reconcile those two.
We'll leave you alone. You don't cross the line. You cross the line, and I think
We're gonna hit you
Soleimani was
hard.
Soleimani was a great example, right? He warned him, and he warned him, and he warned him, and then
So in that
Soleimani
case,
was
he
gone.
wasn't an isolationist. He actually attacked, right?
He attacked because Soleimani was
Okay, and it
not
could have.
only had attacked America or our bases in Iraq and other places, but he was
And
planning new ones, and that's
they continue to attack us afterwards. I mean, all the Iran-backed surrogates in the Middle East, the Houthis, and you name it, they continue to attack us. So that didn't really solve much. But
I think it slowed down quite a bit until we had our most recent, until we gave them their $8 billion
there you go.
back and had
That's
our
right.
most recent
Well,
president.
we could get off this topic because I think we've covered it before. But what were we talking about? Israel and the October surprises. So I don't think there's, like you said, everything's baked in at this point. So we might as well go to our predictions, right?
Yeah, we can do that. You don't want to save it till the end of the show?
You want to?
Let's do it.
All right,
Let's go. Who's
let's
going to
go.
win?
Predictions.
I predict Trump. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to pull this out. I think he's got some momentum, which can't be understated, the importance of momentum. I think the polls are pointing towards him leading in a significant number of swing states. I think popular vote is going to be close. I won't say that he's going to win the popular vote overall, but I think he's definitely he's going to improve on the last election, and I think he's going to pull this out from an electoral standpoint.
Let's go through it in detail. I've got it all written out, and we'll write down the numbers and everything. So when we reconvene, hopefully they will have some results by the time we podcast again. But so let's go winner. I'm going to go with Kamala. I wanted to ask you, do you think Trump supporters are still silent like they were before, that they don't want to say that they're voting for him? Because I think that's gone away, I would think, right?
Um, I would say I'm not 100% sure if it's gone away. I think it's significantly muted. If that makes
And
sense.
what about this? If you're into conspiracy theories, would, like most of the polls are run by the media, right?
Yep, or universities.
Would they want to show, and all that's controlled by the Dems, according to the conspiracy theorists, would they want to show Kamala in the lead or behind at this stage?
I think they'd want to show a close race.
With her slightly behind, I would think. Because to me, the Republicans will vote regardless.
For me,
I
it's
think they fall in
oversampling.
line better than the Democrats. I think.
Oversampling Democrats, though. If you look at the fine print of these, it's always a significantly larger number of Democrats than Republicans that are being polled, which of course is going to tilt the scales a bit.
Well, that would be strange.
And if you look at the recent number of people who have registered as part of a party,
Yeah,
Republican or Democrat, it's actually shifted to the point where there's more Republicans now registered than Democrats, I believe, in the country.
that's what you indicated.
Yeah. And it's
So-
the first time in like over 30 years or something.
So he should win going away.
He should.
Okay, so let's get into the electoral. So
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but he should. I mean, my thought process is he should.
well, the Democrats are, and a lot of the CNN, MSNBC are in, not surprisingly, panic, pissing their pants mode at this point, right?
They appear
which
to be.
which is not untypical for them, and that has led to the less of the joy and more of the fear mongering. You know, the fascist,
Yep.
this will be the last election, whatnot. Um, which I don't know if that actually motivates people. I don't think it does on the left, as we talked to Tony about. Um, I think the I think some of the other stuff would do better, but they fall into the trap all the time. Um, so we have 538 electoral votes up. So we're going to go down electoral, popular, then we're going to go through the swing states, and then we're going to go when we will know the winner. Then we will go who will not accept the results. Then we will go House and Senate pickups. Okay.
All right.
I didn't warn
Sounds
you
good.
about this, but I thought we would write them down and then we can review them afterwards. Kind of a test. And if you want to wager something, I'm always up for a wager. So winner, you're going Trump with how many electoral votes? Do you say? I think you need 270 to win, right? So you better give them
Yeah.
at least 270.
Let me think about this a minute.
Now I think last time he got like 230, 230. I think Biden got like 306, I think. So that would have been 232 for Trump, maybe. Yeah, if that math works. So it was a pretty big blowout last time. So you're going under the assumption that they're thinking she was
Let's
worse than Biden last time.
say approximately 291. I don't know where that one comes from, but I'm just going to say 291.
291 for Trump. All right, which would give her the remaining. All right, I'm gonna go 284 for Kamala and 254 for Trump. So closer than 2020, but with her still pulling it out. Popular vote. The number of votes for Trump.
What's the total number of votes? Do we have
Uh,
a number? Let's do it by percentage.
no,
Trump will get Trump will get slightly less, right? So maybe 48 or 49. I'll say.
so you don't think he'll win the popular?
No, I think he'll close the gap from the last election, but I don't think he's going to quite win the popular.
I did.
I think he could. I think he's got a chance, but I don't.
Do you think
I'll
she'll
have
get
to bet.
50? I
Well, she
actually
would
did the
have to, I
number.
guess.
I actually did the number of votes. I had her with 83 million and him with 79 million.
Okay, so we're not far apart.
No.
I don't know how that percentage works out.
All right. Um, so swing states. Arizona.
It's going Trump.
I have them down for Arizona, which would be interesting because I think Gallego will beat Kerry Lake in the Senate race.
I was reading today that her numbers are looking a lot better to the point where
Everyone's numbers
she's
looking better.
ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know where those
I don't
numbers
know
are
where
coming
they
from.
were last election.
All right, Georgia.
Georgia's going to go Trump.
I say Trump too. I don't know why. I just feel it. North Carolina.
North Carolina's going to go Trump.
I'm saying Kamala on that one. Kamala.
Why?
I just have a feeling. If you look at the map, I think she's going to, I'll tell you how I think she's going to win. But I think won the governor race there. I think, I think, I think that's just that state's turning more. They've got a I think it's turning more blue.
I think if anything does it, it'll be people couldn't vote because of all the hurricane issues still. That
Yeah,
said,
that could be effective too.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tech that has moved there.
Yep.
I'll give you that. But the the tech vote is starting to swing a little bit more towards conservatives as well,
Yeah,
especially kind of the
some of them.
the Bitcoin bros.
The good point, bros. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some of the free speech types. So I'm sticking with Trump on North Carolina.
All right. The key, I think, is going to be Pennsylvania.
It's a big state. It's a big deal. Trump's going to win it.
No, I'm going with Kamala again. You got two Democratic senators. You got a Democratic governor. I just don't see it going to him. Didn't go last time to him.
It didn't, but Biden was pretty popular in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and Trump is significantly more popular with unions than Kamala is. Biden was popular with unions.
Well, Bob, I think you need to up your numbers because you're giving Trump all the.
Yeah. So
I think your number is going to be much higher than 291 if you're giving him all
uh,
these states.
I think he'll probably lose Michigan. He'll probably lose Wisconsin.
All right, so you're going. So I think the way I looked at the map, if she takes those three, if she takes Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, he's going to have a very hard time to win, right? I don't think she needs any of the other jump states, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're
I don't think she needs the other ones we've talked about.
so
Nevada
we
would be
know.
the other one.
Yeah, Nevada is going to go Trump.
I think that'll go Trump too.
Ohio will go Trump.
So I think she's going to get North Carolina and then the three in the blue wall with Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan.
Yeah,
You think
yeah,
I think Pennsylvania is going to be the key.
yeah, and I think
I
Pennsylvania
think
goes the other way.
I think whoever gets Pennsylvania is going to, because I think Michigan and Wisconsin are going to go her direction.
Yeah, from looking at the polls, Wisconsin is a closer race than Pennsylvania is. Okay, so she's up by 0.7% in Wisconsin, and he's up by 0.8% in Pennsylvania. And
Yeah.
the reason, again, I say that he's going to win Pennsylvania is the union vote. I think it's going to go for him more significantly this time around. Union vote, and the unions I'm talking about are manufacturing unions, right? Wisconsin, there's not as much manufacturing union voter base there. It's more service union. That's a difference, right? You talk service unions, in many cases teachers unions. It's a different beast than your UAW and IAM. That's just, and also the UAW, IAM, and other manufacturing type unions are generally speaking more men, where the service based are more union or more women, generally speaking. And that's kind of how I'm coming to the conclusion.
So I get the general feeling that no state, I don't think it's going to be like 2020. I think whoever's going to win these states is going to win by more than these slim margins that they're predicting. What do you think of that? That I don't think it's going to be either somebody's going to win the state or they're not. It's going to be pretty clear.
In my mind, Trump is far more likely to win in a landslide than Kamala. I'll say that.
You're not predicting a landslide,
I'm not.
but you're
But in
saying
my mind, he's far more likely to win in a landslide than Kamala.
you do realize he's lost the last 3 elections, basically.
He's also had 2 assassination attempts with him the
Oh, that's
imagery
that's gonna
and the
help.
memory being very, very strong
You're
on the one
relying
where he
on
got
those
shot.
assassination attempts to
I
help him out.
I really think,
You think
especially
he's
that
just a
first one,
martyr now at this
I
point?
really think that it
Really?
solidified
Well, that's
um,
weird.
an opinion. I think
I wonder
there,
if that'll
you
appear
know,
in the exit polls.
some of the us versus them, and they tried to do this to him, and the deep state stuff. I really think that that
Beyond all evidence
first
to the
attempt.
contrary, right?
I think, and I've talked to a lot of people that have mentioned that as
Really?
what really solidified
Wow. Saying
their
that
vote.
they're really going after him. They really have
I've
this
talked to a lot
viewpoint.
of people that said that that assassination attempt did it for them. They went from not knowing who
Wow.
they were going to vote for to knowing who they were going to go vote for, or not really flying a political flag or banner in their yards to immediately putting up a Trump flag on the front of their house. That sort of stuff.
That sends a chill through my spine there, Bob.
I really think that did something. Um, but you know, I'm not an oracle, so I could be wrong.
So, in that theory, then, so I'm predicting that we'll know a winner earlier than we did last time, even though we're going to have all these lawsuits and whatever. And the timing of the winner would be, let's say, when Associated Press calls it. I don't know if they're a reliable source anymore or not, but or we could pick a network.
I don't think any network's going to call it and not be accurate. I think it doesn't matter.
Right.
If somebody calls it, it's going to be.
So they're all going to call it. So
Yeah.
I'm saying Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have an announcement of who the winner is. I think last time it wasn't until Saturday, right? If I recall that
Yeah, man.
that it was called.
I'm gonna say we're gonna hear it on election night.
Yeah. Whoa, what?
Yep.
Like during like. See, you're really going for a Trump big win then. Your numbers don't indicate it, but I think you're talking yourself into a landslide.
I think we're gonna hear it on election night. Was it a landslide?
Well,
in the Hillary vote?
I'm sure we're gonna hear it from
We
one
heard-
person on election night,
We heard it.
especially
we heard
if
it.
he's up.
He won on election night when it was him versus Hillary. That wasn't a landslide.
He won on election night last time too.
You see what I'm saying? It was announced on election night.
Yes, I think somewhere in the early morning hours, if I remember, they called it for Trump. I don't think it was. Yes, election night being before the sun rises, right?
I was awake, but it wasn't 4 in the morning. I don't know,
So
maybe it
you're
was 1 in the
saying
morning.
before the sun rises on election night. So you're saying
Yeah,
probably
I won't.
Wednesday morning, November 6th at what time?
We'll say 2 a.m. before 2
2
a.m.
a.m. All right. Well, that's pretty much when Trump called it last time. I think I imagine he's going to call it again. It'll be interesting how that plays out. So, who will not accept the results if Trump wins? Do you think
Well,
Kamala will accept the results?
I
think
if it's
Trump
a landslide, she will. But if it's anything close at all, no, she'll.
So you're saying she will not accept if close.
Well, what I'm saying is, she'll say that he cheated somehow or another. That's what
Really?
I'm saying. Yeah, it was cheating, or it was Russian collusion, or it was
That would be. So you don't think she will?
Hillary did it. Why wouldn't she?
Well, I know. Well,
It riles the base up.
we've litigated. That's been litigated inside and out. I will not take that bait anymore. Let's see. If she wins, I definitely don't think he's going to accept the results. Do you think he will?
I think
In
he
any
will
case?
also. He will call it. He'll challenge it in court. Yes, I think.
No matter if it's close or not, he will challenge it.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he will
I
not
think he'll
accept the
challenge it.
results. which is the reason why you should never vote for the man.
But I think after a few weeks, he'll go away, and you won't hear from him again. He's not going to run a third time or a fourth time, I guess.
Yeah, that would be unusual, but we won't get that far down the road. Um, so let's do House and Senate. Just let's do, since the Republicans are predicted to pick up seats, I think, in both, right? Generally, the way the map works. Um, do you think they'll pick up any seats in the House, and if so, how many?
I'll say they'll pick up. Man, this is not easy. This is a tough question. You're going to pick up three.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Three, three R's in the Senate. You think they'll pick up any in the Senate?
Also, not an easy question. Um, but yeah, I think they'll take a slim majority, right? So they'll have the slim majority, maybe one more than the Dems have now. So what do
So
the
that
Dems
would
have
be
now?
that'd be
51.
that'd be two. So it would flip
Yep. Yep.
51 to 40. I think I have two too. So they will not be a red wave here, even if Trump wins handily.
I
But
don't think so.
but you do think they will be in control of the House and Senate.
I think so. Till the midterms, and then
Re-
it'll flip back.
Regardless of whether she wins too, you think they'll still? Because I'm predicting that even with
Yeah,
her
I think
winning.
so. I think so. Even with
Yeah,
her winning, I think it stands the same.
interesting. All right, those are our predictions. I don't know why I have a sense that she's gonna. If you're gonna ask me why I think she's gonna win, I can't say why. Other than if you look at the map and how many times the Democrats got certain states that are in play, that are swing states, and it's unlikely. He did it once, obviously, when he beat Hillary, but I think she ignored those states for the most
She
part.
ignored Wisconsin
Right.
pretty good.
She
Yeah.
ignored the upper Midwest for the most part, I think. Um, and I don't think Kamala's done that. I think Kamala,
But
for all her
just
faults, I think she's run I mean, when you think about it, looking back on it, she had 3 months to put together, 3 months, a week or two to put together a campaign. Um,
you said yourself though, right? You said the media and the Democrats that are kind of speaking out have gone from joy to freaking out,
yeah, that's their
and I think
nature, though.
so. They're
I
scared,
knew that was
right?
going to
They're
happen. Of
scared. I think
course.
they see something that's concerning them.
Uh, I don't think it. I think it's more that the
And I think
the
Trump feels
the
more
end is
confident
near.
than he did against Biden. I really do. I think Trump feels more confident. I think you can see that in the way he's talking and acting versus 4 years ago. So I think he sees something too. But I guess you have to be able to trust polling, right? And I don't know what the internal polling is or says for Kamala or for Trump. They don't release that. But just a
Do I
vibe.
do I think she's a weaker candidate than Biden was 4 years ago? I would say so, but I would say Trump is a weaker candidate too. Number one, he was the incumbent president. Yes, you had COVID at the time, and I think that hit him pretty hard in the election year. But he's still the incumbent president, and based upon what he said, we were living our best lives at that point. So how he lost that election, I still don't know. Oh, that's right, they cheated. Um,
Well, I will just want to be clear when he says cheated, and I tend to agree with the thought. State legislators or laws were changed in states to allow lots of people to vote. Those laws should have been changed, or those voting methods should have been changed by a legislature, and they weren't. And the reason the Supreme Court let that stuff stand was states' rights, right? So the state broke its own laws, and if the state wasn't going to enforce its own laws, the Supreme Court wasn't going to intervene either. So there was a lot of voting
Interesting.
done.
Just to interrupt you. Interesting that the Supreme Court stopped the state from doing against federal law this week, right? With Virginia and the poll.
That is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
what happened in Virginia, to be
it's
clear,
amazing
is
that they can react when they want to, though.
the
They're quick to
Virginia was
move when they want to,
purging the illegals off the voter rolls,
or some other people.
and the
Who
Department
knows?
of Justice stopped it or tried to stop it and said you can't do that on the grounds of you're not supposed to change or mess with election rolls within 90 days of the election.
Right.
The Supreme Court basically said we're going to allow this because these are documented to be illegal voters, and in Virginia you can register to vote on election day.
Right.
So that
Yeah.
same law might not have stood for a state that has closed their voter registration at this point.
Right. They saw the remedy there that
Yeah.
if somebody went to the polling place and, you know, I'm sure they're not going to take people who are not citizens off. But if they do, then that person can, I guess, run back home, get their documentation together, come back, and or maybe they won't. Maybe they just won't vote. But whatever, it's fine. It's all good.
We'll find out.
It's a solution in search of a problem.
So what you're saying is maybe Trump's going to win Virginia?
He stands a better chance now, I'm sure. I'm sure he does.
Trump wins Virginia, it's over. I think he actually won it in. Didn't he? Did he win Virginia against Hillary? If not, it was really close.
Yeah, I don't know. What were we talking about? So I wanted to bring up, since there's been some economic news, and the market's kind of been strange for the last couple weeks, especially since the Fed cut rates, right?
Yep.
So GDP came out today, 2.8 growth, strong growth, despite this being the worst economy ever, doing very well. 233 new jobs in October. Personal consumption expenditure core was 1.5. I think overall it was like 2.5 for inflation. Wages are up 4.6% year over year. I don't know how the Democrats are losing on the economy, but they've managed to do that. It's hard to believe that they could lose an election with this economy. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Inflation's a problem for people. Things are getting more expensive, man.
Things are always getting more expensive. Gas prices are dropping. Gas prices are in the $2.
Do you not feel like you're getting nickeled and dimed on everything anytime you go out, whether it's the tipping, the prices of groceries, or or any service, even outside of like your normal everyday, eating out type of service? Not feel like you're getting nickeled and dimed every time you leave your house?
I would say grocery store prices, I've noticed more items on sale and reduced than I have in the last several years recently. So over the last 6 to 8 months, I noticed things, because I do most of the shopping, I notice things are either on sale or a bit cheaper. Going out to eat, not so much. I think those prices are still high. I think we're going to need. It's hard to have disinflation when you've got growth. So there's kind of the trade-off there. If we have a recession, if you want a recession, then I think demand will pull back. But people are still spending like drunken sailors, and to the extent they continue to do that, there will still be higher prices. If you be more discriminatory, then there will be lower prices. I think we're going to see some of that, but I think the Biden economy's been so strong and wage growth has been there that I think, despite people complaining about more expensive prices, and they're there, they do have the means of spending it.
So why are bond
Otherwise,
prices so high right now, do you think?
bond prices are so high and will continue to be high because we have $36 trillion in
Well,
debt.
bond yield. I'm sorry, bond yields, not
Bond
bond
yields.
prices. Yep.
Bond yields. So
Yep.
the 10-year treasuries did dip when the Fed cut rates, and they've pretty much retracted back to the same position now. I think they were 4.2, 4.3. They dropped below 4 for a while and have crept back up. And here's the thing. We've got 35, $36 trillion in debt, right?
And we're losing leverage as a result of it, right?
Um,
Because the
well,
higher that goes, and the higher the yield goes, the more leverage you're going to lose. And it's kind of decoupled, and I think you were trying to get there,
right.
but it's decoupled. Like oftentimes you see stocks go one way, bonds go another, right? Because it's an alternative. The last few weeks, that's kind of not been the case. They've separated a little bit. Like stocks will go one way, and you would expect bonds to go another, and it doesn't happen, right? It's been very interesting. And to me, I've been trying to figure it out, to be honest with you. And I think the key is what you said there is, it's all this debt.
Yeah, and we're doing refunding. So not only do you have to issue new debt, you've got to roll the debt that's out there, right? And I think through this process, they've kind of shortened the maturity of what they were issuing. So you're going to have more reissuances because they come up. Rather than the 30-year treasury, they've started issuing more 10 years, let's say, or 5-year treasuries. So they're going to have to continue to put this supply out. And so what happens is the market just, if you have a weak, they put them up for auction. If you have a weak auction, they're going to bid up the yield that people demand, right? So, no, I'm not going to bid at it at 3.8%, but if you give it to me at 4.3% yield, I'll buy in. And so that's the process that we're going through, and that's not going to end until we pay off the debt. We talked about mortgage rates. Mortgage rates, I heard a prediction today that said they'll go down to 5.9% in 2025 and then back up to 6.1 in 2026. I do think that 6 to 7% mortgage rate is going to be out there. I could be dead wrong, but I think it's going to be out there for a while. And I think treasuries are going to be between 10-year treasuries will be between 4 and 5, closer to 5 for the foreseeable future, as far as I'm concerned. No matter what the Fed does in cutting rates, because there's no real connection between the two. I mean, no direct connection. And the market doesn't believe, the market knows the debt issuance is going to have to continue, right? So unless the Fed ends up expanding their balance sheet by buying this debt themselves, which is a possibility, but they said they're not really going to do that, to kind of drive the rates down.
Because it's going to be where it is or higher.
It's going to be where it is or higher. So I think
unless well, you get down the road and you actually do an 80% or very high significant cut to government spending.
Yeah. Well, get Elon in there. He's going to cut $2 trillion. He said.
I think he said he wanted to do 80%. Yeah.
Right. I mean that will.
That would do it.
That will push us into a recession too. Any economist will tell you.
No, a very deep one, but
right.
Maybe
it will wash out one way or another.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you think that's the way we have to go, but I was looking at the debt. I was trying to get some sense for, should I be panicking about the debt? Because no one else is, right? No one else was really talked about it.
Well, I think if you watch Fox News and Newsmax, you find people talking about it.
I do watch it. I don't find them talking about it much.
It is a lot of
CNBC's
presidential
talked
race
about
right
it a little
now.
bit today. Trump talked about it a little bit on Rogan, saying, well, if it wasn't for COVID, he was going to start paying down the debt, which I don't know where he got that from, but whatever stories he wants to tell himself. But if you look at the debt, now we have 3% GDP growth, right?
Yeah, I
and
think you said 2.5 or something, wasn't
2.8 it was third quarter.
Yeah.
But it's been like up to, I think it was over four a couple quarters in the Biden administration, but it's probably averaged 3% um, over the last couple of years. Um, so if you have 3% GDP growth, and one of the ways to look at the debt is as a percent of GDP, right? That makes
Yep,
sense, right? Does that make sense to you?
makes sense.
But that gets
To
into
be
the
clear,
leverage
that's
thing.
being a sense of GDP because you're making that much money or revenue coming in.
Right. You
And so
should.
as your revenue goes up, your ability to manage the debt also increases.
And inflation, real inflation, causes the real piece of
Value,
debt to go down too, right?
right?
So you have real GDP, which is stripped of inflation, then you have inflation. Let's say inflation's 2%, so you have 5%, right? So in theory, your debt could go up 5% a year, and you sort of, and I saw this in a chart. We've been at like, uh, actually, I think it peaked higher than like 120% of GDP now. Our debt is, right? But it's been like that for like the last year, even though as debt has gone up.
Doesn't but so when there is a recession,
Yep.
the debt's not going to disappear, but the GDP will, right? So you
But then
could
your
have
interest
a
rate should drop
potentially a
too, right?
very yeah, it should drop. But
So
if
you're
you've got a 10-year bond out there and you own it at 5%, I mean, some of that debt, it lags, right?
absolutely. Yeah, that's part of the problem with how we've accumulated the debt. You should accumulate debt, at least what I learned on economics, when you're in a recession, right? And we did it over COVID, and we did it during the financial crisis, and I guess in those times you could see it, but I think all these wars during the last 20 years have cost us a lot, right? And building up a huge government infrastructure with Department of Homeland Security and everything that came, post 9/11. In essence, Osama bin Laden won by making us spend all this money, right? He didn't win the war, the battle, but he's sort of winning the war by our reaction, getting into wars and spending all this money. Um, but my point was that, in theory, if you have GDP and inflation, you can continue to add to the debt to the tune of almost $2 trillion a year, and still be in the same place as a percentage of GDP. Which, if you
Yeah,
look at it, part of
it's
it
not
could be.
healthy though. It's not healthy,
No, I'm
man.
not saying.
We
I'm
have
not
to
saying
get in a
that's.
position where we can handle another significant economic event.
Right. We should at least be not adding to it at this point. Let's just start there. Let's start with a balanced budget, right?
Yep.
And let's not add to it. Because eventually, if you don't add to it with GDP and inflation, it should become less of a real concern over time, right?
You
That's
should.
my point. It should shrink as kind of the gorilla in the room over time if you're not adding to it at least.
Do you have
Um,
any confidence in our politicians to be able to
See,
navigate
nobody's
this?
talking about why didn't they talk about a balanced budget bill or something like that? Nobody even Trump hasn't talked about it.
Well, very few people. Rand Paul has. What's his name? Massey. Massey talks about it constantly. Thomas Massey. Um,
Yeah,
it
on the
doesn't get.
fringe,
You
right?
know, why? I've said it before. Why does nobody talk about fining businesses $100,000 a head per
That's
day
right.
for hiring illegals? Right? It doesn't because it's a solution that they don't want to talk about because it'll solve the problem, and they don't want to. And to continue to kind of talk about what you were saying with the debt, that's probably part of the reason they want to convert a bunch of illegals to legal citizens is now you're getting more taxes and more revenue.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's probably part of what's driving the GDP growth, like it or
But
not.
it's gonna it reduces the wages of the average American who are already struggling to buy a house with a
Yeah, but as
six
long as
percent, 6 or 7% mortgage rate and housing prices through the roof.
yeah, Yeah, I don't know if as long as you have low unemployment and you have growth, I think there's room to for everyone to do well. And one of the ways you grow GDP is through population, especially if they come in. I want younger population too, who are willing to work. So I think that's how Europe and Japan have gotten into the problems that they have. Um, you have an aging population. You
Yeah,
don't have much population growth.
it's
You're going to have problems.
it's interesting. It's very rare, and I take a lot of Lyfts and Ubers. It's very rare to have a well established or long term American citizen to be your driving you to the airport or anywhere around town in any city in the country. I don't know if you've noticed that or how often you take a Lyft or an Uber. Um,
What are you telling me? People who are on the Mayflower aren't driving the Ubers?
it's
Is that your
immigrants, right? And
observation? Is that your observation?
in many cases, they may be legal, and in many other cases, I would guess that they're not legal immigrants.
I would say that would be a correct observation.
It's it's just kind of one example of the effect that the massive illegal movement into our country has had on our economy, right?
That we could get
That's my,
food delivered too.
you know, cheaply. Well, it's also, I think, hurt. I mean, and I don't know because I'm kind of a little ways out in the country and I have not ordered a pizza for delivery here yet. But when I was a little closer to town, even the pizza delivery places wanted you to use Uber Eats or I forget what the other one is.
DoorDash or
To something. DoorDash, yeah. The pizza, a lot of these pizza parlors now aren't even bothering with delivery anymore. It's just
yep.
you hire DoorDash and you pay an extra $10 for delivery on your pizza and then tip on top of it. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's my opinion. I'm not paying for that stuff. I'll
So
make my own darn pizza.
oh, I'm surprised you're anti-delivery service.
No, I'm not
You
anti-delivery
don't like
service.
the
I'm
delivery
anti-using
economy.
the delivery service. I like the delivery economy. I just think if you were to, again, make sure that the labor is legal completely, that uh, wages would be higher in the country overall, and therefore tax revenue would be as well.
Yeah, I think the illegals are good for tax revenue too. I do think they pay taxes, believe it or not.
But they may. I mean, not complete, definitely not 100% of them pay taxes, and
So
100% of their employers don't pay taxes. But what I'm getting at is, if there wasn't an illegal making $10 an hour, it would be an American citizen making 18 or 19 or 20, and then you've got your 25 or 28% on your $20 an hour rather than your $10 an hour.
right. So at least we could both agree that all of Trump's proposals would wreck the economy. Not only is he going to export all these illegals at the cost of probably several $1 trillion, he's going to cut uh, entitlements that people used to spend with Elon. Then he's going to put effectively a 20% sales tax through tariffs on imported products.
It balances out.
And then none of it balances out.
It absolutely balances out. So if you
No.
get rid of illegals and you take them all out of the country, you're going to raise wages
Oh,
significantly,
please.
which is going to raise
You're
the cost
dreaming,
of goods.
Bob. You're
So
dreaming.
you're going to raise the cost of goods, right? At the same time that reducing government spending would lower the cost of goods, and it should maybe not be at equilibrium, but there'll be a balance.
Yeah. I don't know what
There's
spending.
no way any
I
of
don't
that's
know
going
what
to happen.
spending. I don't
Granted,
know what
there's no way any of
spending.
that's going to
Yeah,
happen.
right. So all his proposals are just nonsense because none of it's going to happen. He's not going to. He's not going to kick anyone out of the country. He's not going to. He's not going to put it. He might put some tariffs in place, but not many. He'll just cut taxes for people who don't need tax cuts and run up the deficits.
Everybody needs tax cuts.
I'm talking about the people who need it the least.
Maybe not people who spend American money over in Barcelona, but everybody else.
Everybody else. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about is the Washington Post. I'm hearing some things that people are scared of Trump. So, like Bezos not having the Washington Post endorse a candidate is him being silenced by a prospective Trump administration. You buy that?
I absolutely buy that.
All right, okay. So we're happy with
Yeah.
that.
I'm good with that.
We're good with putting a president in office that has that sort of fear of revenge in the business community.
Freedom of speech
That
exists
he
for a
will go.
reason, and
That
freedom
he
of
will go.
speech is freedom from persecution or prosecution from the government,
Whatever.
but it's not freedom from consequence,
All right,
right?
sure. Whatever you want to say.
So,
I don't like that. If that's what's happening, I don't like it at all.
oh, come on, it happens far more often on the left than it does from
Uh,
those from the right.
uh,
I'm not a fan, and if you can prove some sort of shadiness, then it's kind of like when you're a kid. You want to
shadiness?
go out, you really want ice cream after dinner, but you also just want to smack your sister because she's your sister, right? And
I don't know where you're going with this, Bob. But
And you could smack your sister and not get the ice cream, or you could get the ice cream, and you have a choice to make, right? In the end, your only punishment is probably going to be no ice cream, so you make that decision. You're free to make either choice. It's the same situation. Bezos can go out there and smack Trump. He could go out there and hit Trump, and half the country's going to cheer, and he's going to feel good. Then he's going to realize, oh man, I just lost my ice cream, and I really wanted that ice cream because there was a gold nugget in the bottom of it, right? It's the same situation.
So you're fine with? You're saying everyone will use the power of the government to get their own personal advantage. So
There's
this
an
is
easy
nothing
fix for
new.
that.
This
Reduce
is nothing
government.
new.
There's an easy fix for that. Reduce government's power and size.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Or
I
hire
agree.
or elect people who are ethical and of certain characteristics. It doesn't have to be that way. You're just saying it is.
That's the way it is.
Okay, it is what it is.
Fix it.
All
Let's
right,
reduce government.
let's do it.
Let's get rid of government. Let's get rid of the majority of government. That fixes the problem. And lobbyists,
Let's see.
subsidies.
And it's interesting what Bitcoin and gold are doing now too.
It is. Well, that right.
Yeah.
I think Bitcoin is a little bit more. It's a hedge that Trump's going to win.
Although Trump's stock has been down the last couple of days, it took a big run. I think there's some profit taking going on.
That's not going to go anywhere. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't have bought it.
Well, it went up to, I think it was a $50 or $60, and now it's back into the 30s. I think.
Yeah. There's no fundamental value.
No, there's no fundamental value, but that's okay, right? Again,
If you want to put your money into it,
people-
that's fine. You're right.
People could just bribe the next president of the United States by buying his worthless stock, make him. That's his biggest asset now, by the way. Crazy as it sounds.
JT, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he does, whether he ends up selling at some point or not. I can't believe he's not done it thus far. I just wonder what's going through his head, because I can't believe he's just letting that sit out there, because it could disappear, because like you said, there's no real inherent value in it.
He's got to do it. Well, yeah, he can't dump it immediately. I'm sure. First of all,
Well, there would be a run on it, and that would be a
Right.
self-defeating prophecy. But
right.
I don't think
It's
he's
not
even
just
sold
that, but
little
it's
bets,
also
though.
probably in this terms of the ownership of the stock, right? Because a bunch of it was granted to him, and I'm sure it's granted in cycles.
But I think he's fully capable of selling. At least that's my impression. That there's
Yeah.
there's no further restrictions on him.
If I was him, I'd be
selling.
dumping it like 1,000 shares at a time.
Just weed it back into the market. Just through some shell entities.
Just dump, just dump it 1,000 shares at a time on up days. That's That's what you do.
I wonder if he's doing that. I can't believe he's holding out. He must really think he's going to win because that stock will go down significantly if he doesn't.
That's a fair point. That's honestly, maybe that's why you don't want to sell 1,000 shares at a time right now either. 'Cause, yeah, if he does win, yeah, that's fair. You get these foreign entities buying a bunch of the stock,
Yeah.
but if he loses, it'll drop fast. Yeah.
I did want to cover, and I think I might have mentioned to you, I read this book last week called Fears of a Setting Sun. And it dealt with.
The Chicago Bears.
No, actually, don't mention that ever again.
Sorry.
Were you just like dancing? I can imagine the fit of joy you had.
I had some joy going on. Yeah, in the Hail Mary, Washington.
I think you said
them,
you thought they were going to win and you just turned at the moment.
Yeah. So I had people over, so I was slightly distracted. I saw what happened towards the end of the game, and I was like, "Oh man, this game's over." This is how the Bears always win: is kind of luck and defense and bad mistakes by the other team. And then I thought it was over, and then I turned my head back, and I saw at the bottom of the screen, "Touchdown Washington," and I said, "Holy!" Yeah, and I had a nice feeling of joy, and then
it was a good capper to your Sunday evening.
I really wanted to turn on sports talk radio and just listen to all the callers and the personalities losing their stuff over it. But again, I had some friends over, so I couldn't do it.
I actually blame the coaching because it was actually the play before that cost them the game.
Yeah,
that 15-yard easy? They did exactly. Tony Romo called it. He's like, "This is what they need to do," and the Bears just gave them that. And even if they pressed it, and I made the point, I think I made the point to you, couldn't they have just, when they went for the 2 points, handed it to Swift and have him run in the opposite direction, take 20 seconds off the clock?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the clock runs on those extra point situations.
That has to. It's a play, isn't it?
It's not.
I was going to look it up, but I haven't had time this week. Whether that's that would have been a creative solution. But anyways. So those are the Bears. So, no, this book is not about the Bears. It's about our founding fathers. And we always think of them as like, hippies, very cool and into – I don't think they were hippies, but they wore wigs. They wore long hair.
I saw an Abe Lincoln and a George Washington today, by the way.
Oh, did you? Wow, That's nice. Those are old school.
Yeah, it's a good Halloween costume. They were both women.
But we always think of the founders as patriotic and, flag waving and really into the American spirit. And this author went back through the writings of our founding fathers subsequent to the ratification of the Constitution and over probably the first 30 or 40 years of our existence as a country. From Washington to Hamilton to Adams and Jefferson were the four that he took. And basically he said, as our experiment continued on, they became less convinced that it was going to work, which is interesting, especially as, we talk now that, sort of a perilous time. We're talking about the future of democracy, that even in the now it sort of makes sense in the beginning, right? That, hey, this is something new. It's never really worked anywhere else in the world for too long, right?
There was no tax structure, and
right.
There's increasing I can't say the word, politicization. Yeah.
And interestingly, they all took it from a different direction. So Washington was big into, he saw the development of political parties and partisanship, and he thought that was going to be the fall of our country. And they all thought it was going to end soon, like in their lifetimes. They thought the experiment was going to be done with. So Washington thought partisanship, and he actually said internal dissensions were harrying and tearing our vitals, making it difficult, if not impractical, to manage the reins of government. So Washington just thought the political parties would tear us apart. Not too far off from where we're at now, right?
No, no.
Hamilton actually thought, and you'll laugh at this, but Hamilton's my guy. He thought we were going to fail because we had too weak of a federal government. Hamilton. Reading about Hamilton, he actually went a little bit further than he thought the president should serve for life. Basically,
Yeah.
he thought
Temporary kings.
He thought lifetime appointments. He wasn't happy with the Constitution. Actually, there were. I didn't realize it when the Constitution was formed. There were two plans. There was a New Jersey plan and a Virginia plan. The New Jersey plan actually happened, which was sort of the small state plan, which is why we have all this nonsense with two senators from Montana.
That's not nonsense, though.
The Virginia plan actually had proportional representation in the House and Senate, so we wouldn't have the nonsense of two senators from Montana or a lot of the electoral college stuff. And then the Virginia plan actually had the Congress being able to veto state legislation. How about that? So these were actually considered in the Constitutional Convention. That was one of the plans that they were trying to decide on. Interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting.
And yeah, Hamilton
But
thought.
it's also great that none of that shit got in.
So yeah, Hamilton thought the federal government would be too enfeebled, and that they would be directed by the narrow interests of small states. Again, not too far from where we're at now. Adams had misgivings about the virtues and intelligence of the American people. He said, "O my country, how I mourn over thine ignorance and imbecility, thy contempt of wisdom and virtues, and overweening admiration of fools and knaves." Again, not too far from where we're at now. I just thought it was interesting that all these concerns that they had back then are really a lot of what we're dealing with now. And Jefferson was the biggest. He was the biggest flag waver of them all. He held out until old age. But he actually thought that there needed to be changes in the Constitution, even because did you know Adams and Jefferson died on the same day?
Yeah.
July 4th, too, the
Yep.
50th anniversary of 1826.
Pretty amazing, right?
They were gonna go to the festivities, and they both died on the same day, which is freakish, right?
Yep.
So they both lived a pretty long time into the 1800s. But Jefferson, I think, was more concerned about the slavery issue ripping us apart than anything. Interestingly enough, since he was pretty into his slaves. As it turns out. But anyways, I just thought that was a good wrap up that maybe, you've always told me that things are going to be okay, Kevin.
They are.
And I'm not a panicker. I'm usually not a panicker.
Doesn't matter who wins this election. Everything's going to work out just fine.
Everything's going to be fine. There's not going to be much difference between what happens.
The checks and balances with the two houses and the Supreme Court make sure everything's fine.
So all our listeners can sleep well, knowing if they wake up Wednesday morning and when Donald J. Trump is back in the White House, or even one Kamala. Do we know Kamala's middle name? Is it
Muhammad.
Hussein? Is it Hussein? I'm sure if it was Hussein, we'd know about it by now.
That's what I meant to say is Hussein. We were having the same thoughts.
We were having the same thought. I'm sure if it was, we'd know about it.
Yeah, I'm sure we would.
Either way, we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine, people. Don't freak out. Go to bed Tuesday night. Wake up. Have your breakfast. It's all going to be good. I will not be here.
Here's the thing. It's election day. It's a celebration. I don't really care what side you're on. Go vote.
Yes, absolutely.
And then enjoy it.
I encourage
Enjoy watching the results.
Even if people are going to vote for somebody I don't want to be in office, absolutely go vote. That's your That's your right. That's your. I want to see 100% people vote.
Enjoy your candidate winning state A, and understand and appreciate your candidate losing state B, and enjoy the political banter and celebrate. I mean, I don't know. I always look at this day as a celebration. Back in when Obama won his second term, and looking back on it now, the candidate that I was supporting was an awful candidate, McCain. Was it McCain the second term or Romney? It was Romney.
Romney.
Yeah, it was Romney. Awful candidate. Not a fan of his nowadays. Really then either. But even then, when Obama trounced him, I enjoyed that night. Just watching the election results roll in. Just enjoy it.
I wish I could be there with you, Bob.
I wish I could be in Barcelona with you.
We could, go through a bottle of bourbon and watch all the results come in. We'll have to do that next time if there's still a country.
Hey, if not,
oh, did I just say that? I'm sorry.
If there's not still a country, then we can do that and watch it happen in two countries at the same time.
That's right. Fine. You might be in a different one than I am.
Yeah.
You might be in a different country than I am. Although it's been fun being part of. This is my first experience in a swing state. My mailbox. You wouldn't believe how many direct mail things I get every day. It's ridiculous.
I'm not surprised.
And the ads on TV, I've never seen, because we have a obviously competitive presidential, but there's also a competitive Senate race. It's pretty close. And my congressional race is pretty close. So we're just getting bombarded by all three of those. It's crazy.
Do those ads change your vote?
No. Not at all.
Think about how much money is just being thrown down the drain. It's a scam, I think. I think most of it is a scam. Somebody's making money printing those ads. Somebody's making those money designing those ads. The Postal Service is making money.
Well, it could definitely be a lot less. Let's just say that. Whether on the margin that they would move people, it probably move maybe the marginal voters, but I don't think the number and the level that you get is going to make that big a difference.
Yeah, I guess on some level it's kind of like you're hungry and you want pizza and you got a Papa John's ad in the mail and you think, oh, Papa John sounds good, and I'll buy it. I know Papa John's, right? I'll buy that. I've heard of them before. Maybe on some level that you're sitting at the booth and you don't know who to vote for and you recognize a name and you just check the box. I could see that happening with some people.
No, I don't think there's ever been proven a correlation between the amount of money you spend and the election results. It's hard to factor that, but I think, like you said, I think it's an industry and people feel like they have to do that. And if you don't have name recognition, obviously that's going to help, right? So if you're a new candidate, yes, you've got to do that. But like you said, is a direct. I get 2 or 3 from a Trump and Kamala every day. Who's that affecting, right?
Yep.
Somebody opening up their mail and saying, "Oh, I never thought of it that way."
And it's not like the ads say anything either, right?
No, it's just the same.
It's a picture and a couple of lines: "Make America Great Again."
Right. Same.
Fighting for you. Yep.
Same talking points you've heard on the stump or whatever. So. Maybe it does affect people who are just not that tuned in like we are, but I would think a couple of them would work. You don't need to fill the mailbox every day. Yeah, I'm really astounded by the number I get every day, day in, day out.
I get
and even things I'm getting like personalized notes from people, like through letter writing from the parties, saying, like postcards from people. It's weird.
Yep. I get very few political things in my mail.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Once in a while, I'll get something local, like for a mayor or a local councilman or something, sheriff. I don't think I've had one federal flyer in my mailbox all year.
Yeah, I never got them in Illinois.
Yeah.
Well, that just to me that shows you how weird the whole system is. That the concentration is on such few states and
Yep.
all the money spent. I mean, yesterday there was a rally in Madison. Kamala had one there, and Trump was up in Green Bay, both within, hour and a half of me, right?
Yep.
Uh, that never happened when I was in Illinois.
No. Yeah, I don't think Trump's visited Illinois once this cycle.
Right.
What's the point?
Yeah.
It's interesting he's visited New York.
Yep. He was in New Mexico, I think, too.
Yeah. California even. Yeah.
We'll see. Well, good luck. Good luck,
We'll
everyone.
talk to you next time on the other side.
Go vote. I will.
Go vote.
I will come back, regardless. Support whoever is the future president of the United States. God bless America.
Amen.
Do we want to go
All
off?
a good night.
Do we want to go off with a song? Do we want to hum?
We need a National Lampoon's clip.
God bless America.
YMCA.
Yeah. All right. On that note, go out and vote, everyone. Good luck. Talk to you soon.
Have fun.